Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you had a happy Easter. We're going to move into 10.4 where we're solving polynomial equations in factored form. Today is the 14th, our class notes on 10.4. Factored form, so doing our vocab first, copying this slide down first. Factored form is when you have polynomials written as the product of two or more linear factors, so making sense of that. Product means multiplication, so factors being multiplied, and they're linear factors. So linear would mean the biggest exponent's a 1, and you have two or more of them. So sets of parentheses, in short, what is factored form? Sets of parentheses being multiplied. What's in the parentheses? The biggest exponent is a 1. We use this property called the zero product property, which says if your equation is equal to 0, if you have two things being multiplied, two factors being multiplied, right, and they're equal to 0, then one of these two numbers has to be equal to 0. So we use this property to get us through our examples for today. So let's get started with those examples. Using the zero product property, we need to solve this equation. This is what factored form means. See that this is linear and this is linear. These are the linear factors being multiplied, and the equation is set equal to 0. So this is like our A, and it said you can take the A and set it equal to 0. And this is our B, and it said you could take the B and set it equal to 0. Now you have two equations to solve. How do we solve? So we focus only on this one. How do we solve this? How do we get the X alone? Hopefully you're saying subtract 7. How do we get the X alone? I hope that you're saying divide or thinking divide 2 to get X equals negative 7/2. There's one of our answers. Second part of our problem, there are other factors set equal to 0. How do we solve? How do we get the X alone? Hopefully you're saying subtract the 3. The X is alone, no additional steps for this one. There's our second answer. That's our process for today. That's the only thing you need to be successful here. Now, as we move into the second example, well, it looks a little different because we have that squared piece. But all that means is we have this repeated twice. So we have 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1. We have to remember what it means to be squared. The base, this amount of times, and ours is a 2, so we have it twice. And so we can use that zero product property. We have linear factors being multiplied set equal to 0. Take it and set it equal to 0. Take it, set it equal to 0. Now some of you may be noticing that these are exactly the same. So it's going to be the same solution. So it's not worth solving it twice. I'm just going to solve this equation and be done. How do I get my X alone? Add over the 1. How do I get my X alone? Divide the 2. And then I can see X equals 1/2. Final answer. Now if you go ahead and take the time to solve this, you're also going to see X equals 1/2. Next problem, here's a linear factor, here's a linear factor being set equal to 0. We can use the zero product property, which says take your first factor, set it equal to 0, take your second factor, set it equal to 0, and solve. How do I solve this equation? How do I get this X alone? Well, I recognize multiplication's going on, so I divide the 2. X equals 0. 0 divided by any number is 0. How do I solve this equation? I subtract over the 6, and I get X equals negative 6. One solution, two solutions. In my final example, I have a linear factor being multiplied with a linear factor being multiplied with a linear factor set equal to 0. What do? I take each of the factors, set them equal to 0, and solve. This one has 3. Don't let that scare you. This one has 3. You just find the 3 solutions. 3x plus 5 equals 0. 6x minus 3 equals 0. 2x minus 10 equals 0. Minus over the 5. Divide the 3. X equals negative 5 thirds one answer, add over the 3, divide the 6. Be careful, a lot of students will want to say that this is 2, but this bigger number's in the bottom. So this is a fractional answer. 3 goes into 6 twice. This becomes 1/2 when we reduce that. Add over the 10. Divide the 2. And you'll see that x is 5. Bigger numbers in the top. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 3 answers for that one because we had 3 factors. Please make sure you wrote all of this down. You didn't just watch the video. You are writing these down in your notebook. You need to take complete notes and then you start the problems that I've assigned. Have a great day, everybody.